Millionaire Daniel Blackwood had learned to trust no one until death threats started arriving. The federal agent assigned to ensure his safety was Sophia, the woman he had abandoned the night before their wedding ceremony 7 years ago, saying, "I will disappoint you," and now he had to trust her completely. Daniel Blackwood stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office overlooking Manhattan, reviewing the morning's security briefing with growing unease. The 40-year-old millionaire and investment banker had built Blackwood Financial from a small family firm into one of Wall Street's most aggressive and successful hedge funds, but success had apparently made him enemies. The death threats had begun arriving 3 weeks ago, sophisticated communications that demonstrated detailed knowledge of Daniel's daily routines, business operations, and personal vulnerabilities. The FBI's initial assessment had been cautiously optimistic, suggesting the threats might be from disgruntled investors or competitors engaging in psychological warfare rather than serious assassination planning. But yesterday's intercepted communications had changed everything. Federal surveillance had uncovered evidence of professional contract killers conducting reconnaissance on Daniel's movements, studying his building's security systems, and preparing for what appeared to be an imminent attack on his life. Daniel's head of corporate security, Marcus Thompson, had recommended immediate relocation to a secure facility until the threat could be neutralized. The FBI had concurred, insisting that Daniel enter the federal witness protection program temporarily while they investigated the source of the conspiracy against him. "Mr. Blackwood, the federal agent assigned to your protection detail is here," Marcus announced as he entered Daniel's office with his usual military precision. "Agent Rivera from the FBI's Personal Protection Unit. She has extensive experience with high-profile threat management." Daniel nodded absently while continuing to scan intelligence reports about potential suspects who might want him dead. The list was longer than he felt comfortable acknowledging, including foreign governments whose financial systems he had destabilized, criminal organizations whose money laundering operations he had exposed, and business competitors whose companies he had destroyed through aggressive trading strategies. "Send her in," Daniel said without looking up from the documents. "I want to review the security protocols immediately. Time is obviously critical if these people are as serious as the FBI believes." The door opened and closed quietly, but something about the footsteps made Daniel glance up from his papers. The woman standing before him wore a perfectly tailored black suit that suggested federal law enforcement, but her face triggered memories that Daniel had spent 7 years trying to forget. Sophia Rivera stood 3 feet away from him, looking exactly like the woman he had once loved and planned to marry, but transformed by 7 years of confidence and professional authority that hadn't been there when he had abandoned her. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe style that emphasized intelligent eyes that had once looked at him with love before viewing him with devastating disappointment. "Hello, Daniel," Sophia said with the calm professionalism of someone accustomed to managing life-or-death situations. "I'm Special Agent Rivera. I've been assigned to coordinate your personal protection until this threat is resolved." Daniel felt the room spinning slightly as recognition hit him with the force of suppressed guilt and regret. Sofia Martinez had become Sophia Rivera, apparently through marriage to someone else, someone who had been capable of the commitment that Daniel had proven unable to make 7 years earlier. "Sophia," Daniel managed to say, his voice barely above a whisper. "I can't believe. How did you? Are you really FBI now?" "I've been with the Bureau for 6 years," Sophia replied with no trace of personal emotion, treating him exactly like any other client requiring federal protection services. "Specialized in personal protection and threat assessment. Your case has been assigned to me because of my experience with financial crime-related assassination attempts." The irony was overwhelming. Daniel had spent 7 years building his reputation as someone who could be trusted with other people's money while proving incapable of being trusted with other people's hearts. Now his life depended entirely on the professional competence and personal integrity of the woman whose trust he had shattered. 7 years ago, Sophia had been a promising young FBI Academy graduate, ambitious and dedicated to building a career in federal law enforcement. Daniel had been expanding Blackwood Financial aggressively, working 18-hour days to establish his reputation in the brutally competitive world of high-stakes investing. Their relationship had been passionate but complicated. Two driven individuals pursuing demanding careers while trying to build something lasting together. For 3 years, they had navigated the challenges of conflicting schedules and competing priorities, supporting each other through professional setbacks and celebrating successes together. The engagement had come during Daniel's most successful period, when Blackwood Financial was generating record profits and attracting international attention. Sophia had been thriving at the FBI, earning recognition for her analytical skills and leadership potential. Their future had seemed secure and promising. But as their wedding approached, Daniel had been consumed by anxiety about losing his focus and competitive edge. Marriage represented commitment and compromise that seemed incompatible with the ruthless ambition required to dominate financial markets. Sophia deserved a husband who could prioritize their relationship over professional advancement. The night before their wedding, Daniel had convinced himself that marrying Sophia would be unfair to both of them. She needed someone who could give her the emotional availability and family commitment she deserved, while he needed the freedom to pursue opportunities that required complete dedication and occasional moral flexibility. Daniel had left their shared apartment that night without explanation, checking into a hotel and flying to London the next morning for a business opportunity that could have been postponed. Sophia had found only a brief note explaining that he couldn't go through with the marriage because he would inevitably disappoint her as a husband. The decision had devastated both of them, but Daniel had convinced himself it was also honest and mature. Better to hurt Sophia before the wedding than to fail her as a husband by prioritizing business over their relationship, or worse, by resenting the constraints that marriage might place on his professional ambitions. Now, 7 years later, Daniel found himself entirely dependent on Sophia's professional skills and personal dedication to protect him from people who wanted him dead. The woman whose heart he had broken by choosing career over commitment was now using her career to save his life. The threat assessment indicates immediate danger, Sophia continued with practiced efficiency, treating him like any other client requiring protection services. We'll need to relocate you to a secure facility within the hour. I've arranged for discreet transportation and temporary housing that meets federal security standards. Daniel listened to Sophia's security briefing while struggling to process the personal implications of their reunion. She had clearly thrived during the years since their separation, building exactly the kind of meaningful career in federal law enforcement that she had dreamed of pursuing during their time together. Sophia, I need to ask, Daniel interrupted her professional presentation. Are you comfortable with this assignment? Given our history, wouldn't it be better to request someone else handle my protection? Something flickered in Sophia's eyes, the first crack in her professional composure since entering his office. My personal feelings don't interfere with my professional obligations, she said firmly. I'm assigned to keep you alive, and that's exactly what I intend to do. The conviction in her voice reminded Daniel of the qualities that had first attracted him to Sophia, her integrity, her dedication to principles larger than personal advancement, her ability to maintain focus under pressure. These were traits he had once found both admirable and intimidating. The secure facility turned out to be a nondescript safe house in Queens, equipped with sophisticated surveillance equipment and defensive measures that could withstand professional assassination attempts. Sophia coordinated Daniel's relocation with military precision, ensuring his safety while minimizing the disruption to ongoing FBI investigations. During their first evening in the safe house, Daniel attempted to discuss their personal history, but Sophia firmly redirected the conversation to security protocols and threat assessment. Her professional boundaries were absolute, treating him with polite courtesy while maintaining the emotional distance appropriate for a federal agent protecting a client. The people targeting you are professionals, Sophia explained as she reviewed surveillance reports. Former military, extensive training in urban warfare and assassination techniques. They've been planning this operation for months, studying your routines and identifying vulnerabilities in your security. Daniel found himself impressed by Sophia's competence and expertise, qualities that had been developing during their relationship but had fully matured during the years since their separation. She had become exactly the kind of federal agent she had hoped to be, respected by colleagues and effective in high-stress situations. The investigation proceeded with methodical precision as Sophia coordinated with other FBI units to identify the source of the threats and neutralize the assassination team. Her strategic thinking and coordination skills were evident in how she managed multiple aspects of the case while ensuring Daniel's continuous protection. Through intercepted communications and surveillance operations, the FBI learned that the assassination contract had been placed by a foreign intelligence service seeking revenge for Daniel's role in exposing their money laundering operations. The threat was both serious and immediate, requiring around-the-clock protection until the killers could be apprehended. Living under federal protection meant Daniel spent 24 hours a day in close proximity to Sophia, unable to escape the constant reminder of his past choices and their consequences. She maintained professional objectivity throughout their enforced cohabitation, but Daniel found himself studying her face for signs of the woman he had once known and loved. Sophia had married someone else 3 years after their separation. Daniel learned through careful observation of the wedding ring she wore and occasional phone calls to someone she addressed with obvious affection. She had apparently found the kind of stable, committed relationship that Daniel had been too fearful to provide. The realization that Sophia had moved beyond their failed relationship to build something meaningful with someone else was both relieving and devastating for Daniel. She hadn't waited for him to mature or change his priorities. She had recognized his limitations and created the life she wanted with someone capable of meeting her needs. During their third day in the safe house, the assassination team made their move. Sophia's security systems detected the approach of armed individuals conducting surveillance around the building's perimeter. The situation escalated rapidly as the attackers attempted to breach the safe house's defenses. Sophia coordinated the defensive response with calm professionalism, directing backup units while ensuring Daniel's safety throughout the assault. Her tactical expertise was evident in how she managed the crisis, anticipating the attackers' strategies and countering them effectively. The firefight lasted less than 10 minutes, but it demonstrated the lethal seriousness of the threats against Daniel's life. 3 professional assassins were killed, and 2 others were captured alive, providing intelligence that would help the FBI dismantle the broader conspiracy. Daniel watched Sophia manage the aftermath of the attack with admiration and growing understanding of how much she had accomplished during their years apart. She was no longer the promising young agent he had known, but a seasoned federal law enforcement professional who saved lives and protected national security. "It's over," Sophia told him as federal agents secured the scene and processed the captured assassins. "The immediate threat has been neutralized, and we've identified the people responsible for the contract. You can return to your normal life tomorrow." Daniel felt an unexpected reluctance to leave the safe house and return to his isolated existence in Manhattan. The past few days had reminded him of what it felt like to be around someone who genuinely cared about others' welfare, even when professional duty rather than personal affection motivated that care. "Sophia, before we go back to our separate lives," Daniel said carefully, "I need you to know that leaving you was the biggest mistake I ever made. Not because of what it cost me, but because of what it cost you. You deserved better than someone who was too afraid of commitment to appreciate what we had." Sophia studied his face for a long moment before responding. "I did deserve better," she agreed quietly, "and I found it. My husband is a good man who was ready for marriage and family when we met. He gave me what you couldn't, and I'm grateful for that." The finality in her voice made clear that whatever they had once shared was truly in the past. Sophia had processed their separation, learned from it, and moved forward to build something better. Daniel's regret, however sincere, couldn't change the choices they had both made or the lives they had subsequently created. "I'm glad you found happiness," Daniel said, meaning it despite the personal cost of acknowledging her success without him. "You always deserved someone who could appreciate what you bring to a relationship." The return to Daniel's normal life felt hollow after the intensity of the past week. Blackwood Financial continued to generate profits and expand internationally, but Daniel found himself questioning whether financial success alone provided sufficient meaning or satisfaction when measured against Sophia's dedication to protecting others. The assassination attempt had reminded Daniel of his own mortality while showing him examples of people whose work served society, rather than just accumulating personal wealth. Sophia's career brought purpose and significance to her daily life in ways that Daniel's financial manipulations could never match. In the months following the threat's resolution, Daniel established a foundation focused on supporting federal law enforcement training and victim protection services. The foundation was administered anonymously, providing assistance without creating personal complications or obligations for recipients like Sophia. Daniel never attempted to contact Sophia personally or to learn more about her family life beyond what was publicly available through her professional recognition and law enforcement achievements. He understood that she had moved beyond their past relationship to build something important and meaningful. But the memory of Sophia's competence and dedication during the assassination crisis served as a constant reminder of the kind of person he had lost through his own fear and limitations. She had become exactly what she had dreamed of becoming, while he had achieved financial success at the cost of personal relationships and meaningful contribution to others' welfare. The federal agent who had saved Daniel's life from professional assassins had also saved him from a life measured only by profit margins, showing him through her example of dedicated service that success could be defined by lives protected rather than wealth accumulated, and that the most important achievements were those that served others rather than just advancing personal interests. Daniel would always be grateful to Sophia Rivera for more than just the tactical expertise that had protected him from the assassination attempt. She had inadvertently shown him possibilities for meaning and purpose that his wealth alone could never provide, and had inspired him to use his resources in ways that honored the values she embodied in her chosen career.